Afternoon, everyone. You're going to hate me for 30 seconds. I want you guys to do some homework. So first thing I want you to do is take 2 sentences and write down your definition of innovation, and then describe the color red without using any other colors. All right, so we're going to take 30 seconds. I'm going to time you, and no, I'm not just trying to kill time, so I hit the 10-minute mark. 3, 2, 1, and we're good. All right, we'll come back to that later, I promise, and we can talk a little bit later after the presentation as well. But again, my name is Phil Swanson. I work with Whirlpool in Advanced Development and Innovation. And I want to talk a little bit about a breakthrough we had in how we approach open innovation. And really, it takes this concept of being lost in translation and applying it to relationships with startups. So how many people have seen the movie Lost in Translation, right? It's a great anti-comedy dramedy from the early 2000s. So really in that movie you have Bill Murray's character, who is a struggling actor. He's waning in his career and he's filming a commercial in Japan for a whiskey company. You have Scarlett Johansson, who likewise is uncertain about the future. She's followed her boyfriend there, who is a famous photographer, and she's not really sure if this is a relationship she wants. But they both share, other than being unable to speak to anybody else in the country, being lost in this culture, lost in a foreign place. Bill Murray's struggling to communicate with his director. Scarlett Johansson is having trouble just flagging a taxi. Now, replace Bill Murray's character with corporate America, or Whirlpool in this case, and then Scarlett Johansson with any bevy of startups, and then Tokyo at large as the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world we all operate in. And that's really where we were. We were a corporation, a company that was trying to innovate and doing a good job, but really struggling engaging with startups. And so what really ended up happening is this. It looks very complex, but we were talking to everybody, right? We had some strategy, but we would have a list of startups. We would have something from Crunchbase. We would hire a consultant, and we'd have a bunch of meetings. Ultimately, we would never engage in any meaningful interactions. We would, if you've seen the end of Lost in Translation, where Bill Murray leans in and talks and says something to Scarlett Johansson, they go on their merry way. You never know what they say, but I like to imagine it wasn't, please sign the NDA, or no, we have 6 more months to make this JDA work, or can you lower the cost? It really wasn't that, right? And that's where we were as a company. We got a reputation of talking to everyone and doing nothing. So really, this is challenging, right? We all want to work with startups. They do things that we can't. We have inherently different cultures, and that's why we struggle to work together. And really, there's been a shift in the power structure between enterprises and startups, and that's really because of venture capital. Right? Before, they would have to come to us to receive some sort of capital, ability to move on to the next stage. Well, the best startups in the world don't need to talk to us. They can go find funding from any number of venture capitalists out there, and they can get to finding product market fit, and then eventually we just become a customer. So what was really unique about our experience is, as we're going through this, we realized a bunch of other companies are going through this too. And in West Michigan, there's this really unique culture of collaboration that exists between a lot of the companies there. We're all career innovators, we talk, and what was going on was a group was forming in Grand Rapids. And this group is called Seamless, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but we started talking, saying, what are those challenges that exist between startups and corporates? And I think all of you can speak to all of these, from a cost perspective to that supplier relationship, to actually building confidence and trust in an engagement. So when the startup gets done working with us, even if we don't invest, they feel like it was worth their time. And we really weren't doing that. So we said, hey, what if we could move at startup speed? What if we could answer all these different questions instead of being product or service, digital or physical, enterprise or startup? We were able to combine all of these. And a lot of other companies out there and organizations realize this is a problem too. I'm sure many of you have interacted with Techstars, any of these other companies up here, Mars, Kite. There's a ton of other ones, Switch Pitch, Bricklayer, things like that. And they all kind of get a piece of the pie right. But they really don't create that interaction layer, right? So when you're dealing with an accelerator, you have a limited number of startups that you're potentially working with and a time-bound activity, and you ultimately might not consider working with them. And so is that really product market fit for them? It could be a waste of time and not the investment they need. So we said, hey, what if we could create something that really was this middleware or translation layer between the startup and corporate world. And so we said, okay, we're going to be purpose-driven, we're going to be low cost, and we're going to share all of these across these partner enterprises that are talking together. And so what really ended up coming is, hey, we're going to embrace this idea of being both product and service, public and private, digital and physical, and leverage the strengths that we have as multiple enterprises in creating this translation layer. So what ends up happening is these 7 corporates, Whirlpool, we have Amway, Steelcase, Forcia, and a couple others in the local area. We have a common NDA. We have a common distribution of risk when working with these startups. And now it's really moved that power structure, again, back towards our entity in Seamless, where when we go scout the best startups, we have scouts located across the world that are feeding startups based on our needs, so they know exactly what our opportunity areas are. They approach that startup and say, hey, would you like to have a call with an organization that actually gives you access to 7 potential startups and 2 VC firms? And so all of a sudden they're interested again. And so the big thing that we said, okay, we've eliminated that translation layer. We've allowed for easy pass-through. When we talk about running an engagement, no longer do I have to go to procurement and they complain that, well, I can't get this person paid $15,000 to $20,000 in a week. That doesn't exist. What do you mean they can't do net 90? Seamless handles that. They can get them paid right away. And so what actually ends up happening is we have this global deal flow. We have this public-private and philanthropic relationship. We're operating at startup speed. We have a proof of concept lab that exists in Grand Rapids. And we have this cross-sector collaboration that actually allows us to have a lot more interactions, not between just the startups, but also between our companies. And that really was the breakthrough. It wasn't so much that, yes, we can work with startups easier, but we have 30 or so innovators from across different sectors that are non-competitive industries sharing their experience in the evaluation phase and the understanding of what is the potential opportunity here. And so we're able to use that wealth of knowledge to accelerate learnings and actually develop really meaningful interactions with those startups and for our corporates. It's much easier to bring a proof of concept back that 7 other companies have potentially given their feedback and information, or the feedback and perspective on, than if it was just us and it took 6 to 8 months and it was $250,000 versus, hey, this took 6 to 8 weeks and it was only 15, and hey, we believe we have this follow-on engagement that we can do. And so we've really eliminated that translation layer and risk. And so what has ended up happening is we've started speaking the same language across all of these companies and with the public sector in Grand Rapids. So not only do we have that engagement with private and public, or private and startups, but we also have that engagement with the city, and we have now a living lab setting. So we've been able to get May Mobility, which is an autonomous shuttle service of Ann Arbor. We have the longest autonomous shuttle route in Grand Rapids, which was brokered, again, by Seamless. We have the largest air quality sensor deployment in a partnership with the city. Most cities have a single sensor in the middle of the city that really doesn't give you a good idea of what the air quality is in that location. We have all of Grand Rapids blanketed, again, because Seamless was able to broker that private-public relationship. So that really comes back to what does Seamless really do and what do we really have from this breakthrough perspective, is that we really value interactions over process. Yes, we have a good cadence. We meet weekly and bi-weekly. We have all this engagement with startups, but we're constantly innovating. We're constantly retuning and fine-tuning what we do so that we can move faster and move to that next stage. POCs are last year. We're moving forward to what is that next part of engagement? What is a real living lab in the future of Grand Rapids and the urban living center going to look like? And we believe we can help shape that. Also, this shit is really hard, right? Working with startups is a pain, and working with within our bureaucracy is a pain. So if you can find your comrades in this and find some like-minded individuals, it makes things a lot easier. And also, audits suck, but do one. A lot of this started internally. We said, hey, what are the relationships that we have as a company, and what are we getting out of them externally, or with these external relationships? And so I challenge you to go back to your corporate and look at all of the open NDAs you have, or JDAs that led to nothing, and see if there's a way, and look at what are the things that didn't work. So now, when I talked about that translation layer real quick, and I asked you guys to write those things down, after this, I want you to turn to the person left to you and share what you wrote down and see if you guys are writing the same thing, right? Because now imagine working with a startup who speaks a completely different language, or a corporate that does. Imagine trying to get to the finish line. Now, this is just a great way to drive home that we all speak different languages, and trying to find that translation layer where you can cross-collaborate and really work together to have meaningful interactions becomes that breakthrough for us, or it can become that breakthrough for you. So thanks again, and look forward to talking to you guys later.